bit bright maybe. Bring that down. Let me just get the chat up. That sounds good. Right, let me just... reduce that down a little bit. So I'm a few minutes late. Hey Nick, how you doing? Good to see you. Looks a little bit up there. Fantastic. Won't be on for too long today as we have a family dinner tonight. I completely understand. It's that time of year, isn't it? You know, lots of things going on. I'm not too glary. It's difficult to get the settings. So what I thought I'd do is just go over some news and just sort of update you a little bit, see if anyone's got any questions. We can have a look at the ancestries if people have seen those. Daniel, welcome. Hi Toby, I'm just here a short while too, as I have an earlier start tomorrow. No problem, Daniel. Just glad to have you here. Right. Yeah, just rushing around this evening, so I was a little bit late. Getting the balance right on these is really tricky, especially with my red face. But I don't know what this does. Whoa, that's better. There we go. Take the colour out of it a little bit. Right. Good. So I did post an update about a couple of hours ago, just sort of outlining where we're at. Hey Julian, good to see you. Love the ancestries, adds so much life to the world. Fantastic. Glad you're thinking that. And what I thought I'd do is just go over, because I don't think I've actually talked about the ancestries. I've got these two I can talk about in a minute. The other two aren't quite finished yet. Let's hope the camera doesn't do too much zooming in and out. But it fits nicely, and I think what I'll probably do is update the character sheet with a new layout, so you can see a space where to put your ancestry and then some of the traits. But there's also going to be cards to go along with it that you can put beside your character sheet, which is going to show you your pros and cons, if you like. So with the updates, I've just basically, I'll go over that quickly. We've got obviously it's Christmas. You know, happy holidays. Happy holidays, everybody. Matt, good to see you. So obviously I've been away a few days, going to the in-laws and to my sisters. I had a lovely time. Obviously when you run your own business like I do, it's always difficult to be away from it. So I took with me some work. I did a little bit of drawing, did some writing. Again, I felt like I didn't get as much done as I'd like to have done. But the last couple of days I've been back and I've been working away at the encounter tables. But more importantly, and this is something that's sort of one of the things I wanted to talk about, is the what I call places to explore. So as you go round the map in 2d6 Realm, you will encounter different things within the different tiles, or plots as I call them. And those plots are varied. You get some unique ones, you get some special encounters, and sometimes you'll find in each plot one of these places to explore. And they are, in a sense, mini lairs. Now, the Sunken Swamp and the Infernal Caves from the Lair expansion 1 for 2d6 Dungeon, they're quite big and involved. Whereas these smaller places are like just like a small little cave, or a one-story dwelling, which is what I am working on now. I call it one story, and it might be one level dwelling. And you go in to these environments, and they are basically smaller, wrecked. Some of them, so some of these dwellings are going to have. They're not going to be as large as, say, as the haunted house, but there'll be maybe 5 rooms. Some of the other ones are going to be blocked off where the ceilings have collapsed in. And you'll find these dwellings, and you can explore them and find treasure and expand or tap into the quests or legends that will be part of the narrative of the game. So you're kind of collecting experience, bits of quests, objects from these smaller encounters. So you can explore quite a few in there, and what you find there will go towards your realm. If you're building your realm, go towards bettering yourself, buying better armor if you're still working up the levels. It can contribute to the realm in lots of different ways. You can find objects that can help with forging of your fabled weapon, say, for example. So the sorts of things you'll find with these will be caves as well. We've got mine shafts. We've got towers that you will be able to explore, and they will all kind of be at the back of the book, and you'll flip to it and you'll see that there's special rules for each one because of their circumstances, and then you will go into each of these and explore, and that be part of the narrative. And you may find the remains, the body of some sort of a sage or something like that, and that leads you to a quest, and you have to find something in another type of structure, so it can kind of build that up. And inside that you're going to have your NPC type encounters as well, which is still a system I'm working on. So lots of interesting things. Hey Jeff, how you doing? Made it kind of watching on my phone while working on fixing up some basement steps. Jeff, don't worry, it's a pretty informal one today. Just because it's just straight after Christmas, so largely I've 3 or 4 days away doing Christmas stuff, so haven't got a huge amount to sort of report on this week. But there's some things that I'm doing. Thrace, hi. Can I expect to see a playthrough of those small yes, designed before the end of the Kickstarter? Up to know, the only thing I found online from the expansion is a demo of the map overland part. Yes. Well, that is it's basically the same process. Good question, Thrace. Thank you. It's the same process of, say, one of the lairs. So there's like the haunted house. So you can go to the videos on the YouTube channel here, and you'll see that there's a haunted house playthrough. It's very similar to that. There's similar sort of smaller maps, and the rules are basically just maybe kind of, they're just stylized towards a type of building, basically. So there'll be, maybe it will say there's a slightly smaller map, or you have to have so many rooms, or you can't have any large rooms. So it'd be just, it is basic 2d6 dungeon, but tailored to these particular situations. And as far as whether I'm going to be able to do a demo, I'd love to be able to. Tom, good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Whether I can get the demo out beforehand. See, what's happening is I am finishing the one-story dwelling, one-level dwelling tomorrow, and sending that out to testers, or sending it out to my proofreaders to read through, and then what the Kickstarter finishes on Tuesday. So that's a bit tight. It may be that I do one on Thursday, and if you're unsure about, you know, how that might work, then you can always late pledge if it's a problem. But there is stuff that is on the channel that you can look at, which gives you a clear indication of what those structures be like. So it'd be like Haunted House or Infernal Caves, just smaller, basically, and maybe with some stylized stuff. So good question though. I'll have a think about it. Maybe something on Monday. Maybe I might do something on Monday. We'll see. Hi Sam, good to see you. Good to see you. Copper Mutant. Hello Toby. Do any of the new mechanics for expansions, including Realm, encourage a potential revision of any previous editions of the core rules? That is a really good question, Copper Mutant. Well, the 2d6 rules are exploring the caves, exploring underground in a sense, aren't they? The kind of or locations. So none of those. There aren't really anything that changes the 2d6 core rules. Changes is probably the word. It doesn't change it. What I am going to have is some supplementary rules that are optional. So, for example, the rules that might help tie into 2d6 Realm a bit better. So, for example, we just passed a stretch goal for a liberated prisoner table. So that is going to be you can roll on, and they may decide to join your realm. So there's that side of it. So there may be things that supplement it, but we spent a lot of time going over those 2d6 rules, 2d6 dungeon core rules. As everybody knows, it's recorded on this channel that we got to the stage where we tested, and there is no need to change those rules, not just from my point of view, but from people who play it. So I think that we're pretty confident with it remaining as it is. 2d6 Realm just adds to those rules and expands, allows you to go overland. So with the lairs, there are their own specific rules for those, but it generally we're pretty solid. I think we're pretty solid. Cool. We'll have a look into the Halloween House one. Thanks, Toby. I'm already a €1 backer. Guess I've got enough time to up my pledge later. By all means, my friend, do that. You can. Great. Makes sense. Thanks. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's been a different process with this expansion. I've said this before, but I will just reiterate. It's not as if it's levels, so I can't release level 1 and everybody have a play, unfortunately, because it's just the land, and the encounters in the different types of land. So I might well release for backers the 1-story dwelling, and you can have a play of that. That is part of the 2d6 realm, and you can have a go with that if you want to. Now, I won't necessarily have everything to go with that, in a sense that maybe some of the monsters might not be there quite yet. But you could have a look at the mechanics of it and say maybe play around the map. I'm going to release the main chunk of it to the testers over the weekend, so they can have a look at this 1-story dwelling, and then I'm going to be working on the cave and the tower and stuff like that. So, but if you see what I'm saying, you're just exploring land, and each type of land is a different type of encounter. So you couldn't just, I couldn't just give you grassland to encounter, because you encounter some woodland and you wouldn't know what to do with that because you haven't got the tables. So there's different, it's a different experience. But to be honest, it's not a bad one, because before it was a very intense process before, and this one is going to be, all these encounter tables are going to be done and just released, and we're not going to be having to wait for the next one. So it's hopefully that makes sense. I'm guessing there'd be more likely to be some optional rules that pop up rather than rules that change. Exactly, Jeff. So there's not going to be any changes to 2d6, so you don't have to worry about your edition or anything like that. I'm not making anybody buy new editions of 2d6 Dungeon to play this game. That is the edition. That is the game. If in years to come I was ever to sort of do another release of 2d6 Dungeon, it would still have the core rules probably. I can't at the moment see that there would be any. It would just be a second printing. So I don't know. I as far as that's concerned. John, how are you doing? Good to see you. Hi Toby. When can we get our hands on 2d6 Realms? I need something new to get into. Well, that is a really good question. At the moment, we're well on target for digital being completed in February. So I'm over halfway through on the encounter tables, and that's largely been a lot of December. And lots of the additional tables as well have been written. So those additional tables were as a result of the encounter tables being written. So if you can imagine, you might be exploring a woodland and you find like a hollow in a tree. Now, I may have to write a specific table for that, but I could use that for another space as well. So a lot of these additional tables, having been written already, will mean that the process speeds up as I write the other encounter tables. And I've also worked, on quite a few of the creatures as well. So we're looking at laying down the kind of the ingredients that can then make the encounter tables. So that's good. So we're looking at Feb. As there may be some, as I say, I might release maybe one of the minor layers for people to have a look at and play. But my testers have got to go through that first, and then I could release that, and that'll be like a small little look at some of the in-game, the in-map encounters. Now, what you would have already seen as well is the maps that we generated before as a bit of a test, just to show people what we're working on. That style of exploration has been evolving as well. So what we saw initially was just straight plots going on, and we had great testers like Sam's in the chat, Jeff, who and Nick, and they were drawing these tiles, these plots of land. Well, with the encounter tables, those change a bit. So new things get added. Plots will change. So you may roll a say, a burnt woodland as a plot, and you go into it and explore and find that actually it was quite a while ago and the land is actually in a better condition than you think, and you spend a little bit of time and you can change it to grassland, or you get an option of building a charcoal factory or something like that on the site. So there are things that will then change those plots, and you can actually add in your own roads and your own pathways and your own features, and those have a name. So it's kind of like what you've seen will evolve, but it's evolving as a result of the tables that I'm writing at the moment. So it's exciting, and as I say, it will be kind of a bigger release as we get into the project. So yeah, it's kind of Jeff Porter, good to see you. Yeah, so it's kind of, we're looking at something that is evolving and changing. I'm excited by some of the new tables that I'm doing that are being added to sort of add this kind of randomness, and I'm determined to make each journey, every exploration unique, and that's really vital. And but then as I'm doing this, we're getting new stuff for 2d6 Dungeon. So this is an expansion of 2d6 Dungeon. So for example, we do have the new Ancestries, which is you've got two in the top right hand corner of the screen here, the Paradesi and the Almas, and these are two Ancestries. I'll have a look at those in a minute, but those, really strictly speaking, are 2d6 Dungeon expansions that feature in 2d6 Realm. So there will be a section. This will be additional rules that you can use. You don't have to choose an ancestry, and there will be 4 to begin with, and that may well expand out. We'll see. So, hi Declan. Hope you're doing well, Declan. After 4 gruesome deaths, I'm finally a legend in 2d6 Dungeon. Can't wait for Realm. Backed and excited to watch the development. Thank you, Jeff. That's very kind of you. I'm really excited. It's like every day I'm sitting here writing new encounters that I just can't wait for you guys to experience, and I'm just wait to hear of how the land evolves and people moving across the land and encountering stuff. It's going to be fantastic, and then they can dive back into the dungeon, build up their fabled armor, and then head towards Legendary Dungeon, which will be next year. So whereas Jeff Porter, you've been saying that you are now a legend, that the game has been around for 6-8 months. No, how long? Yeah, I can't quite remember how many months it is, but in that time, hopefully, then we'll get the Legendary Dungeon next year, so you'll be able to continue your journey. So it'll be 2d6 Dungeon, 2d6 Realm, 2d6 Legendary Dungeon. That's the plan. And we've got 2d6 Void as well coming up, so that's going to be exciting. Says he's doing good, trying to kill his dad in a pillow war right now. Oh, excellent. Go Declan. Yeah, so that's exciting. So 2d6 Realm, although it is overland, some of the key content in it will be kind of key. So the Ancestries will be available separately as well as in 2d6 Realm, because I feel like we've hit upon this based upon the lore developed as a result of 2d6 Realm and the stories that people will get involved with as they're playing. So we will make the Ancestry just generally available, but there's going to be more detail about them in 2d6 Realm in the lore section. So it's definitely that's an interesting. As I develop the game, and I'm watching and thinking about how things are changing, and I'm seeing the lore grow, it's making me realise, that some of the stuff that I'm doing will be just handy for the dungeon as well as the realm. So, I'm trying to kind of strike a balance and make some of that accessible for people anyway. But there's going to be absolute ton of content in 2d6 Realm, as anybody who's read one of my tables will know. The new Ancestries are fun to try just in the regular dungeon. I like the different ways it makes you use resources. Exactly. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, trying hard to... Well, actually, it's been really fun. I was looking at how I can adjust and affect the character sheet and the stats through particular abilities. So, yeah. No, I'm like, excited about that. Yeah. I thought before we touch on the ancestries, I thought I'd just mention that the multiplayer combat rules, a new edition of those will be coming out next week. They'll be available for everybody to look at. They are going to go into 2d6 Realm, but they're also going to be available separately as a PDF. They are... I've had... Philip has been like one of my key testers. Thank you, Philip. And he has pointed out... He plays it with his wife. And I think someone else is playing... Maybe he plays it with his teenagers. In any case... he's pointed out a couple of interesting things. So with the multiplayer rules, I did not account for double sixes being thrown on the situation dice. So I'm going to add in a rule for that. It's going to be impactful, and I didn't account for the mishap roll either. So the 2d6 roll, if it get double six, there's going to be something really dramatic happen in this kind of conflict. So I've got to nail that down before I give it away, because I want to make sure I've got it right. But that's on the way. So just wanted to say, if you do get a chance to try out the combat in the multiplayer rules, then you will see there are a couple of flaws with it. But we are looking at working that out. And one of the flaws is that there's a chance, if you've got 5 people playing, that a couple of them may not actually get to hit the opponent or strike at the opponent. And I want to try and do something about that. And I've talked about this before. So we are looking, I am looking at adding in more options there. And in fact, someone suggested something last time, and I can't remember who it was. But what was it again? It was using another stat in the second hit rather than shift. I can't remember what it was. I've written it down. It's written down. Right. So let's have a look at the new ancestries here. So we've got. Let's just move this one up. We have, maybe that's just, we can maybe see that there. I don't know whether you can read that. Maybe we should just cover up my big ugly mug. So we've got the Paradesi. Now, these are so just to put this in context, so there's an event in the world, there's a war, and the Caladians, which are like kind of the foundation humans, get driven out from their homeland and split up into different groups around the world. Some Caladians remain in the heartland and that area, which is what the main adventurer is from. And he let me just put me down here. That's better. Let's put me down there. There we go. And these and so you've got because the goblinoids come from the subterranean worlds, which are quite substantial within Corradine. And so these scatterings of humans that have escaped find themselves in areas where they can't be reached by these forces, these goblinoid forces. And the goblins eventually retreat back underground, leave the central part of the world kind of bare, with a few groups of scatterings of humans who have managed to survive. And the other races or ancestries or peoples of the world have kind of populated specific areas which in turn have affected them and given them special traits, and they're often caused by something natural. So it may be something they consume, or something that they find that aids them, they rub on their skin, or it may be something in the environment that they're in that alters them as well. And the Paradesi have are kind of that they have been they've escaped into a dense woodland which is north of the Heartland, and it's the dense woodland. Let me just have a look here. Hang on. Yeah, so it's called the banding wood. And these trees, they have a sap which they find has healing properties, but yet is also poisonous to consume. So they have a kind of like they learn to use it, and they begin to imbibe it in very small amounts, and it begins to affect them, and they become it changes them, and it's like it gives them prolonged lives. So it makes them sort of, but they're kind of weaker and thinner, and so they're kind of a bit like elves, but they're not like all powerful like elves. They're kind of they're thin and angular, and each of the ancestries has a background, a stats modifier, an adjustments list, and they have permanent favour from one of the subterranean gods. Okay, because they have, on some level, shunned the surface and embrace something of the underworld because they're hiding. So it's a kind of like there's that respect to it. Bubba, good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Happy holidays. Happy New Year's soon. Yeah, it's coming up, isn't it? Coming up. So the Paradesi. So you get these three backgrounds to add a little bit of flavour and I like a stat change as well because of their background, which quite appeals to me. And we have an outcast, a seeker, or an orphan. Okay, so the reason these characters you can play, but you have ended up in the town, in the village somehow, even though you're of an ancestry which is pretty uncommon in the Heartland, but you've ended up there somehow. You've done it. If you choose to play a Paradesi, now you could say the Paradesi, but might be the hardest species to play rather than the easiest, spinning the elf concept on its head, making them more fragile, but they're not elves. Okay, because they're altered humans, if you like, but have become their own species. So an outcast, because obviously they're not from this area. And these, you get these roles that affect. So you've got like a tavern exploit table is -1. If you're a seeker, because the Paradesi, they're collectors of items. They have special. They're really interested in objects and kind of renovating and restoring old things, kind of, or improving them. So they kind of like they work magical properties into items and stuff like that. And the magic in Corradine derives from some magical stones which are broken up and spread across the land, and some of them have been ground down into like powder and made their way into the food chain, if you like. So like plastic in society. Chris, new to the system. I just finished my craft project for cutting out all the cards. Looking forward to my first delve. Just back realms. Chris, thank you for that. Welcome to the party. Thank you. Good to have you on board. Yeah, so this particular, so adding this ancestry, as you can tell from what I'm saying, it's helped me evolve the lore. It's helped create new options in the encounters and the tables. So that's exciting. But let's carry on with this. Stat modifiers. So each one has a stat modifier. We'll have a look at the other one in a sec. So +1 discipline, +1 precision. So although the Paradesi are weaker, they are they're probably more precise and skilled in what they do, because they're crafters. You know, they're kind of like, they're people who like to make things. But there are a series of adjustments. So we go to the adjustment section. Cannot use potions, but can use potion bombs. So this is obviously a very restricting one. But because of the Elusera sap that they consume, potions don't affect them, drinking them. So they can't use potions, but they can make them and use them as bombs. Can take potions to sell, but they still take up slots. Can fill potion slots with scrolls, which is a new skill that they have. Scrolls of metamorph object can be used twice. Always cast magical scrolls successfully. All healing herbs restore twice as many health points. So we're trying to make up for the lack of healing potions. Herbs can heal twice as much. But because they're weak, they can only carry 5 large items. So there's a series of things that change the situation. Now, you'll get a card that you put next to your character sheet that you can refer to. And that card is part of the 2d6 realm deck of cards. So it's going to be a nice quality card that you just put down beside you. And that'll be there. Hello, just peeking in from Portland, USA, having fun with 2d6 Dungeon and looking forward to 2d6 Realm. Thank you for saying so, John. That's very kind of you. Got to head out. Have a great week. See you all next year. Congratulations on success of Kickstarter, Toby. Thank you, Nick. We are heading into we're in that last week. Tuesday is the last day for the Kickstarter, so keep your eyes on it. See how it goes. I will be doing, Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, I will be doing a stream at 10 as we finish off the campaign. And talk about some other stuff, some exciting stuff as well. I don't see why not. I did last time. We'll do it this time as well. So Tuesday, keep your eye out for that, Nick, and we'll do a stream as we pass the line, and then we can talk about where we're going with it. Now, so that is there, and they have one permanent favor of Radicina, who is obviously is associated with roots and trees. So that is the Paradesi and Radicina are kind of, and you can hear the relationship between the words there. You see, there's permanent. I'm trying to link the languages and pick particular styles for the languages of the different ancestries. So that's kind of where we're going with it. Fantastic. So there's that one. That is the Paradesi, and then we have the Almas here. Just put that one. There we go. Mark, turning in from Ottawa, Canada, discovered 2D6 Dungeon as a late pledge and love the game. Insta back of 2D6 Realm. Thank you very much, Mark. I very much appreciate that. Welcome on board, my friend. And yes, we've got a week left. Nearly there with 2D6 Realm. It's evolving and changing. All the early map stuff we did is going to change slightly and evolve with the new encounter tables that we're doing. So there's so much exciting stuff ahead. I'm really excited. Thank you. So let's have a look at the Almas. So the Almas are again one of the disparate groups of humans who fled the goblinoid invasion, and they made their way to the Medida Mountains, right? And they went underground to escape the pursuing goblinoids. And they found their way underneath, and they expected it to be like hell type environment, but actually, as it turns out, it was a kind of like almost like a psychedelic underworld where glowing fungi and insects populated, and over the decades that followed, they discovered that one of the insects, the Shalika beetles, if you applied it to the skin, it could heal the skin, but it also formed like hard carapace on the skin. You can see this picture by Jake Abington here. It has you can apply it to the skin, and it creates this armor, and they're diggers, and then they burrow into the ground, if you like, or dig through the stone, and so they can become strong and stocky. Yes, you said it. These are kind of like the dwarves, but they're very different from dwarves. There are many things about them which is different, but they kind of fill that void. And I'm kind of excited with how they're coming on. So let's have a look. So the background for the Almas, a trapper. The Almas are good at making traps and stuff like that, because they have to construct things within their tunnels to make their homes sturdy and safe. But they also have to be able to catch the rare animals that kind of live down in those in the caves. The shadow anchorites, so they have a kind of like a religion within their environment, and a pit fighter. They are warrior type fighters, because the creatures within the depths of the caves are strong, and the gift that they see of the Shalika beetle armor is one that allows them to defend themselves. So they're kind of like, they have fighting contests, pit fighters. So these are like +1 shift against animals, +1 shift against undead, +1 shift against monsters, which means they can they're specialised, if you like, against certain creatures. Their base stat modifier is -1 precision, so they're kind of more brute force than makers. The traps they make now don't look pretty, but they're functional. So this is kind of like away from the standard vision that you may have of dwarves, that are crafters and makers of fine weapons. The Almas are not. So there's a different kind of change there. But let's have a look at the adjustments. So this, you could argue, might be an easier race to play. Cannot use plate or scale armor or helmets. Has a natural armor that cannot be removed, and it's got the stats there for it. You write onto your sheet. Does not start with a starting piece of armor. Cannot use healing remedies that apply to skin. Cannot use psychic orbit or facility orbit scrolls. Cannot use potion bombs. Any heat or fire damage is reduced by 2. In combat from round 7 onwards, -1 from any type of damage taken. So, although I said this one is easier to play, as I was starting to read those negative sides, if you like, they're actually they're tougher. So they're good against heat and fire damage. They're from round 7 onwards, their natural armor allows them to take less damage, even though it doesn't necessarily. The natural carapace armor that you have on your sheet doesn't really affect it that way. This -1 is because it generally covers a lot of their body, and as people are getting tired, they kind of deflect off this more than they would do if it was just normal skin. So I'm just trying to kind of think about the long game when it comes to combat. They also gain 1 permanent favour for Muratani, who is kind of known for the kind of underground dwellers. Daniel, interesting to hear more of the lore of the ancestries. Thanks, Toby. Good night, day, morning, everyone, and see you next year. Thank you for being here, Daniel. Fantastic stuff. Stefan, will the Ancestry also have their own card? It will. So each one's going to have its own little card, and you place that next to you to remind you of these adjustments. Key, really. So, I mean, you can write it on your sheet if you want to, but there will be a little sheet, a little card that you can refer to, and that is part of the 2d6 realm cards, and it also appears in the 2d6 realm book to be referred to. So it is there. So we do have so we've got so that is the Almas and the Paradesi. Just put those in there. Bring me back up a little bit in the background there. Oh dear, so big. There we go. The Almas and the Paradesi. Now, what do we have? What other ancestries are coming? Well, I'm going to be getting some of these ready. We've got the Tarians. Now, the Tarians live in the Tarn outlets, which is like a water-based area. So you've got rivers, swamps, bogs, and they settle that area again, escaping the goblinoid incursion, and they again were altered, and this is the theme. This is the theme that the nature of the area that they go to changes these humans, and their skin is changed. It's not adding armor, but the seaweed that they eat affects their skin, becomes slightly rubbery, and they become slightly blue. So their appearance changes and they can swim. But some gain powers. A few have been known to be able to breathe underwater. So it's going to be interesting to see how that is affected. But things like being soaked is obviously not going to affect them. Michael, thank you. I'll take any compliment like that. Thank you. I don't agree with you, but So yeah, so that's going to be one, and then we're going to have humans, which is the base human that was originally from the Heartland. And what I may do with the humans is I may add a bit more of a variance. So there are different groups of humans. Some that live in more arid conditions. Some live in the mountains. Some that live in the Heartland. So maybe there may be more flexibility in what you choose within the human bracket. And so you could say there's going to be the Almas, the Paradesi, the Tarians, where maybe a subclass Tarian, a slub, and then humans with a series of sub ancestries that you can pick from. So we're looking at this, and then you can use this. Take what I showed you on the screen there, and just apply it now. You can grab one of those characters, say, right, I'm going to go and explore a sunken swamp as a Paradesi seeker with my stat modifiers, using scrolls, gaining scrolls, and there you've got level 1 or 2 Paradesi. You can place them to one side and then carry on with them another time and experiment with it. And I've had some great feedback about these new ancestries, and I'm really excited that people are liking them, which is fantastic. I just got the notification you were live. I completely forgot what time it was. Elliot, don't worry, my friend. It's good to have you here now. So that's fantastic. I don't know what people feel, how people feel about this. So you've got these 4 key ancestries in the land at the moment, and there will be more. There's no doubt that I will make more, but they will come later, and I'll probably release those as free content as we move further into next year. But I was thinking, should I do the Goblinoid ancestry? Would that work? Would you couldn't live in the town. It may be that it's more restricting, that you have to do it as part of 2d6 realm. But yeah, it probably wouldn't work within the context. Maybe some Goblinoid ancestry, I don't know. Perhaps half classes, human Almas. Oops, was logged in on the wrong account, lol. Ebbit, that is fine. I recognised your name. There's no problem. I knew who it was. Jason, how are you doing? So, interestingly, we've had that discussion there. Jason, seeing your name makes me think about your post on Facebook, and Jason has done the first licensed content. Well, he kind of has. So Jason, I left you a message on Facebook. What you've done with the Christmas special is a lot of work. Wow, you've put there's lots of creatures in there. So I trust me, I know how hard that is to do all those creatures. So well done. What you do need to do though is you need to read my message and make the corrections to that post and redo your credits page. It's really important, and it's not a criticism that you take my name out and put in the disclaimer in it, because it will just confuse people. So you need to make sure in the credits page you put the bit of text I've given you, because the open license, which is on 2d6 Dungeon, so I'm working on the open license text, but the one that I've given you a bit of text to put into the credits page, put it in there, take my name off as the creator in the actual bit there, because it makes it look like I've kind of structured your document, which I haven't done, so I can't take credit for that, or whatever may result of it, and you need to put into that space. Do you see what I'm saying, Jason? Okay, yeah, I didn't know how to handle that, so I'll read it and make changes. If you can do that ASAP, that would be fantastic. I want this game to be, I've always said, I want an open license for the game. So I've started it. I'm going to finish it tomorrow. It's going to be virtually the same as the license that Mort Borg use. So similar text, similar ideas behind it. People can take it and use it and then create their own products. Now, I'm also going to create a template, but it's taken me much longer than I had imagined. And I want to do it properly. And I need to do it for the Spanish translation as well. So that's really key. So if you want to, Jason, you can port the text into the templates once I send them to you so that it looks more like mine, but you can keep them in your own tables. It's perfectly fine. So yeah, we just need to cover all bases, because if people start asking me about that product and I don't know about it, I can say, look, this is third-party content that is under the Open Gaming License. Now, one of the things about the Open Gaming License for 2D6 Dungeons, you can't copy the rules from my core rulebook into your book. The people that use the licensed products have to have the original rules that they can read. Now, they are, as we know, free to download. So it's not like a big onus on somebody to be able to use this third-party content. You can download those rules. But obviously, anything higher than a level 1, level 2, anything level 2 or higher, any references to that are going to be, you're going to need to buy the core rulebook. So, I'm excited about additional content and that people can make. As I've always said, I'm looking forward to playing dungeons which I haven't written. Although I often forget what I've written, so because there's so many tables that sometimes is a bit of a surprise for me when I'm reading my own stuff, which is great. That's fascinating. Okay, yeah, I'm not a designer, so I try my best to match any mention of rules I state. Read the core. Absolutely, Jason. I've you say you're not a designer, but you've designed some nice stuff there and some nice little additions. So don't be too hard on yourself, my friend. People can make this content under the gaming license and put it on Drive-Thru RPG if they want to. I would suggest that you try and make it look as good as you can. That will generally be a better thing for the overall product that is 2D6 Dungeon, if you see what I'm saying. But I'm not going to tell anybody that they have to sit down and learn how to use Photoshop for the next 3 months to be able to do it. So, look, I'm loving this fact that we have this game that people are going to embrace and do the open game, the open license with it. That'd be fantastic. And it can just be simple, like a selection of tables. You can put it on Drive-Thru RPG and sell it on Drive-Thru RPG if you want to. Go ahead. It's open, so it's fantastic. So I tip my hat to you, Jason, for doing what you did. Let's just make it official, in a sense, with the right terminology, and then everything's fine. So, Ebbit, you mentioned Mort Borg. My wife got it from me for Christmas. It's time to try the Solitary Defilement supplement. Yeah, that has had a lot of coverage. I haven't read the Solitary Defilement one yet. I'm a big Mort Borg fan, and I've written content for Mort Borg supplements. So I work closely with Quinton, who does the 40 Fiends and the 40 Foes books. So he's a friend. He lives just by Cambridge, and we work together. I do a lot of writing for him, and consequently, he pays me for that. So it's all. So I know those games, Mort Borg, that arena is something I'm very familiar with, and I'm a big fan of everything that they have achieved through that game. And I love it being an art project. It's fantastic as well. It looks great. I enjoyed making it, and I'll update the file now, and we'll send out the update link tonight. When you that'd be great, Jason. It'll only take you a few minutes. If you read my comment, you'll see I've sort of said to you how to do it, and then change that link that you've got there, or edit the post you put on there about it. Okay, so you can so that the old one is kind of gone and the new updated one will be there. Also, followed you on Kickstarter a while back to get notification for duty sales. Now I get notifications on things you back, and it's quite funny the number of things I have backed that you back as well. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and that is great. So that's like that's a really important part of what Kickstarter is. Okay, so if you can follow people, okay, if you don't mind getting notifications. Now, if people you know have the same likes as you, because then you get notifications of what they're backing, and the people and those projects that they're backing get your backing or get an extra notification of that project. I mean, it's key. For me, obviously, you know, we wouldn't exist without Kickstarter. It's a vital arena for small independent companies like mine, and we need that. And any kind of linking through seeing what other people back, or shares, or comments on Kickstarter's, likes and following of people, it just helps the little people like me to produce these games for people. It's that simple. Sometimes one of the nicest things that people can do for a designer isn't necessarily spending a huge amount of money. It might be liking, telling a friend, or leaving a comment, a nice comment. It helps with the algorithms, like leaving nice reviews on DriveThruRPG, for example. It's that sort of thing. It's kind of like that's what we hope for, and I know lots of other creators who just need stuff like that. They need just little prompts. They're dropping projects on Kickstarter where you just have to pay like a couple of quid. And that is like, if you're one of say 200, that's back, that project is now running, and we all benefit from backing, supporting definitely the smaller designers and inventors. It's not all about the big boxes full of figures. If you get a massive box full of figures, you play it like once a year, whereas with a game, like lots of independent games that just like solo player games, you can play numerous times for this little amount of money. I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a bit preachy there. Sorry. Void Intentions, I think, was the most recent. Yes. Did you back Void Layers 2? I enjoyed it. No. Mark. Gak coming in late. Mark, no problem, my friend. Good to have you here. Yeah, so it's vital. So for we as a company, as you create more products, you can put them on different platforms. So I haven't put 2D6 Realm on. Preach on. Preach it, brother. Thanks, guys. It is the smaller groups. I try and keep an eye out for stuff, I try and keep an eye out for the smaller projects. I try and pick out those the games that by independent designers where I can see they've spent a lot of time, even if I don't necessarily agree with it, I will, and I'll kind of back them, or I'll leave a comment, or I might give them a few tips. You know, if they want some, I mentor a few people in how to run their Kickstarters. I've got an artist who's asking me questions, so I'm going to mentor them and show them some of the stuff that I do. And then I've got another guy who just did a 5e adventure, and I was kind of helping them and suggesting things and the things that have worked for me. I think that's just important. You just got to get out there. I know I miss a lot, and I'm drawn into some of the bigger games as well. But and again, I watch quite a lot of YouTube channels who talk about stuff like this. Dungeon Dive, fantastic content. Lone Adventurer, another brilliant YouTuber. Ithacus Bane, Scott of the channel, brilliant content. Get in there and check these guys out. You know, some really, really cool stuff. Jason Voidlares was fun, harder than I thought originally. Looking forward to Intentions 2. Nice. I had no idea Kickstarter would give notifications for things they backed if you followed a creator. I'm going to start following more Ebbit. Simple. Although I would say they make it quite hard to back creators. You go to the profile, you've got to click in another button. I can't even remember what one it is now. So there's like a couple of buttons you've got to press to find where you can follow the creator. I would do that. If you can get people to follow you, share the link for your creator button if you're a creator, and then, so I did that recently. I got something like 300 followers in a period of a few days, and that actually was, I hadn't intended for that to be the case, but it was great to see. People don't know you can follow creators on Kickstarter. It's crazy. Dungeon Dive. Horin has just followed me on Kickstarter. Thank you, Horin. It is a great way of doing it. And look, notifications, right, are really important for backers. So if you follow somebody who is creating content on Kickstarter and they send out like one message and they don't spam you, that is the type of person you want to follow. If you're following someone and suddenly you get spam, they don't know what they're doing. Because seriously, we value you guys so much. We don't want to upset you or kind of like spam you. It's really important that we're respectful. And I try to be that with my Kickstarters. So I'm doing like try and do 2 updates a week on the updates, which is fine. But if I ever have to send out any emails, if you get an email from me, it would be a rare thing, but I do have to send out emails every now and again because it's important. So I try to keep it in a bit of a respectful way. But if you're big into Kickstarter, like some people really are, they get lots of notifications and they don't look at them. And it's not it because it can be a bit overwhelming and you never quite know what's going on. So if you're running Kickstarters, you have to kind of put in a little question once you've finished the Kickstarter. Do you want to get emails from me? And I send out like one email every now and again. It's because infrequent emails, just sort of awareness. And I put awareness email updates on other projects that I'm involved with that I did. Michael, yes, keep the game small, but can you give us a larger book so I can read all of the tables? Michael, it's going to be A5 format, my friend. The difference is, I have listened, the encounter tables for the land plots are going to be portrait, and they're going to be in a different style of table. The layers tables are going to be the same as these ones. So you are going to have slightly larger, more kind of more like the contents tables in these for the plots and the different types of land. So you're looking at we have listened. there's not going to be A4 format. If you want A4 format, Michael, my tip is print it out A4 format or letter size, because the detail in these tables is crisp. So you're not going to lose any quality if you print them out bigger. So that's the thing. Should I take your name off the cover page? The image with Santa past the moon. What I would do is take my name off it, Jason, and just put it smaller underneath. Okay. Inspired by. You don't have to put it on there. One of the conditions of the open license is you have to kind of make sure that it doesn't copy that. Fantastic. It mustn't. One of the things we have to put in is it doesn't. So it doesn't. It doesn't not looking like it's its own product. If you see what I'm saying, if it's like taking the design and making it your own, that's the thing. Just be conscious of that. I'm gonna. You see the 2D6 logo on the front. What I'm gonna do is it's gonna say compatible with 2D6 Dungeon. So that's more the issue. So I'm going to send you a logo to change the cover. It says 2D6 Dungeon compatible. So it's not actually 2D6 Dungeon, it's 2D6 Dungeon compatible, my friend. So I do appreciate you looking at the details here with me. Thank you, Jason. So I will sort that. That is going to go out tomorrow with the license, and I will include that with this. So that is going to be important. So you will just need to maybe take my name and make it smaller, but then 2D6 Dungeon, and it will be that big, but compatible will be part of the logo as well. So those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that is we are sorting out the open license for 2D6 Dungeon. You can add it into Photoshop, Jason, but it's going to need to be an official logo. So it's going to be Leander compatible put underneath there. So yeah, so we're just finalising the open gaming license for 2D6 Dungeon. Yeah, so it will be an official logo, and we'll get over to you. It's fine for the moment, just add in that little bit of text. One thing I like about 2D6 Dungeon, says Copper Mutant, is the combat. A bit off topic, but has anyone suggested adapting your combat rules to Radzone Totality, where combat is usually avoided? That is a really good question, Copper Mutant. Hasn't come up. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the combat system from 2D6 Dungeon and publish it as a separate combat system. So it will be something like the Lancaster combat system or something like that. And it will be something separate that you could, and with those, it will be, you could then take that combat system and apply it to different games. I think that's what I'm going to do, because I want that kind of, because people really like the combat system, and I know that it's not to everybody's, not most people do, and I want people to be able to take that combat system and say, I'm going to use this system in this game and this game and this game, and they can have a separate little manual that facilitates that particular thing. So it will be that's kind of where my brain is going. Obviously, that's kind of like that will include its own sort of licensing as well, but it will be free as far as I can wear. I may do a special little combat manual you pay for, but it'll only be a small amount. But using the rule book, I don't know. We'll see. But that's kind of I imagine where. William, Bill, good to see you. That would be awesome. Thanks. Yeah. So it will be compatible. I think it's still important with Radzone, and one of the things that makes Radzone a bit different is you don't do the combat. It's just about survival and scavenging. So put it this way, the combat is lethal. She's just a person. The people out there are kind of like crazy loons. So, yeah, I can see what you're saying. It would be, I would have it so that the separate combat system will have rules for adaptation, and it will have like a template for the stat sheet. So it's going to need to be written and expanded upon so that it can be added into other systems. I want people like Daniel on Dungeon Dive to say, right, I'm going to use Toby's combat system with this game, and he'll put out a little manual and say, here, this is the rules for that, and I don't have to worry about maybe the dungeon. But I may do the same for the dungeon generation as well. Maybe create like a toolkit. Yeah, a toolkit might be a cool idea. I'm writing that down as well. Toolkit. So yeah, we kind of that's up there. So again, and more things that have come from this whole process, which is fantastic. Daniel did say he wished he came up with the combat system in his review. Yes, yeah, he's awesome. No, I had a chat. I've had a good long chat with Daniel fairly recently. He's a friend and a very good guy. He's dedicated to proper content, which is what I like. He's a backer of independent designers, which is fantastic. We need people like that. I was looking through. Occasionally, I'll sit down at YouTube and I'll type in solo player games, and I'll have a look at see what channels there are. And I mean, if anybody's got any great recommendations, but I found like just in the last few months that I've noticed a few kind of smaller ones kind of stop, or I picked up on some that maybe stopped a bit further back than that, and I think we need to make sure that we back the smaller channels that do content for these kind of independent games, because it's really I don't see it as a decline, but I see that we have to nurture it still and look after people who make content about solo player games, solo player RPGs as well. You know, I'm not talking about board games that are 5 players that got a 1-player mode and suddenly you can play 1 player. No, that for me is not a solo player game. Solo player game is a game designed for 1 or 2 people. Daniel, let me write this down. If anybody's got any colour style. There are 3 books in. Oh yes. I probably didn't quite say that right. I stumbled onto 2D6 Dungeon after backing some of the button shy solo card games. Thank heavens you did, Jeff. I've probably said this before. I've always been a designer and an artist and a writer. It's just different things I've done. I've taught as well, but I kind of got into solo games when I started to play them, and I just felt like they weren't bad games, but they weren't my type of game, in the sense I wanted more randomness. And so I wanted to create. It came to tables. I created Dark Force Incursion, which was a system, and like mechanics, really into mechanics, and trying to what's the word? Original design. Try to innovate in that area. I think there's plenty of space to innovate. I don't think that there's by any means every system, every type designed. In fact, I look across a lot of games and I see the same things all the time. And when I sit down and play a Eurogame, I'm bored out of my bloody mind because it's just the same tile, just the same resource management you see everywhere. So I kind of like, and you know, I personally think that there is room for innovation, and I'm there for that. But then tables came along, and I realised tables are just such a great way of doing narrative. Now, that isn't an innovation, but the amount of tables and the content within the tables is like their own little books, their own little narratives. And you can create stories and adventures through that, and no one would have written that same content. So if you get lots of tables, players love it. I see it everywhere. You know, not just on the websites, on YouTube, although it's the main source. I see people playing games in real life and they're like talking about the adventures they're having because of people's stories. We love stories. Man Alone is really good, and I miss when Willola's Cave posted 3 times a month. Love both of their channels. Sam. Yes. Is that like, I don't know. Willola's Cave. You see, that sounds like they've kind of petered off a little bit. And Man Alone, yes, I know Man Alone. I've been in and watched some of that. But Willola's Cave. I'll have a look at that again. And maybe the falling off. It's the thing, isn't it? It's tough. It is really tough to keep content, to put the time and effort it takes to learn a game and then review it and then film it. Bloody hell. It's tough. It's tough. So, I like Room and Board's Kickstarter rundown each week, and he has a good litmus test for solo game modes. The more rules that have to be changed for the solo game mode, the less fun it's going to be because it wasn't designed for solo play exactly. It's true. I mean, I kind of the solo player option was always there as a part of lockdown, wasn't it? Really, people on their own, partners don't want to play games, they want to play on their own. It did exist beforehand, obviously, but it was kind of emphasised. And then I think a lot of products and brands suddenly thought, oh, better do a solo player mode, throw in an extra few rules. I just think often it just falls short. Often when I've tried it in games, I'm like, and then there are some games where it says you've got 5 players and you try and play 5 players and it takes 10 hours. It's crazy. I like that idea. Got tables. Thanks, Bubba. Yeah. I need to do something like that, don't I? I was Dungeon Dive that bought your game so much. It was Dungeon Dive, yeah. I usually agree with his assessments of games. Yeah. The thing I like about Dungeon Dive is he's exactly my age. I kind of relate to him a lot as well, and you know, he will give an honest review, you know, and that's I appreciate that. I found you need it. I definitely do, Bubba. Sam says I found his channel through the Solo Guys RPG Facebook group. He was posting pictures of his journals with stories and artwork from games he was playing. That's fantastic. That's really great. And that comes across actually, Sam, with, you know, that's obviously something that's important to you. And we all know your fantastic drawings. And I think that's key. It's the journey. It's like we just want a bit of adventure, don't we? We just want a bit of adventure. We want to go escape our real worlds and experience something that is magical or dark and grim or nostalgic. It takes us back to being a kid. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. We have a society where there's a good percentage of people that believe to be nostalgic it's a bad thing. It's good. And this whole thing, it's looking back. You should look to the future. It's silly. We are made from our own experiences. This is my own personal opinion. We're made from our own experiences, and they have enriched us. So why not celebrate those by looking back and being nostalgic and enjoying the fact that, hey, when I played the Red Box D&D game, I was doing similar dungeon dives and dungeon delves that I'm doing now in 2D6 Dungeon. I like Geek Gamers. I've done a bit of content on solo gaming myself, but my channel is more post-apocalyptic survival and less gaming, so I tend toward Radzone content. Not much out there like it. Well, Radzone is not being neglected. Okay, we've got the third expansion coming next year with a guest writer on it, which we will find out more about in the new year. So it's very exciting. Me suckered in by a fancy journal with interesting hand-drawn pictures and nice cursive. Yes. Never. Good stuff. I don't think suckered in is the right word. I would say correctly drawn into. Playing your game totally feels like when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. Love the nostalgia, Bubba says. Yeah. We kind of, it's like a weird thing. It's like, I like to collect stuff. I'm a hoarder of things. I just love the design, and I feel like there's a certain shaming, especially of adults who collect things like toys. It's kind of, you fit a certain criteria. Well, actually, there's a lot of people out there that want to do it, but they don't because they're afraid of how it'll look. What does it matter, eh? What does it matter? There is an old toy store near my house my son likes to go to. I was there today and they had a copy of the Red Box D&D, and I thought about you. How much was that? That was what the new edition, because they've reissued it in a red box design, or is it one of the original ones? Because if it was original, that's not a bad little thing to get hold of. Nigel, good to see you, my friend. Yes, it's there's nothing. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of. We love fantasy. Look, films, they tap directly into that, don't they? The fantasy to get away. That's what we want to do. I think we kind of get a bit caught up maybe with screen time as well, potentially. And if we do something physical, there are other senses involved that actually can make it much more immersive and enjoyable for some people. Some people can get frustrated by learning rules and playing games. I understand that completely. That's fine, But I think this is what we do. It's a form of entertainment. It's a form of art. Game design is a form of art as well. So it's just one of those underappreciated ones. And maybe in the future, it may have more importance. I mean, if you look at Ian M. Banks, now unfortunately he passed. He was a great science fiction writer. I'm just reading The Player of Games at the moment. I'm sort of halfway through, and it positions games as like one of the main forms of entertainment in the future, the distant future. And it's a kind of a nice premise that we perhaps might one day get to the stage where game playing is taken more seriously. I think it's increasing. I think more people are beyond Monopoly, if you like, and that it can be a nice communal way of working, playing with people and being involved with your friends and stuff like that. So who knows? Who knows? Speculating. It was, I think it was the reissue. It was $40 and looked good to be an original. Yeah, I think they did do like a reissue. Didn't have the original contents in it naturally, but it looks like the original one. It's just the box looks pretty good. So yeah, well, we're very lucky that we're able to tap into stuff like this, and as much as some people are like, oh, Kickstarter, blah 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 blah. No, it's a good opportunity. It's a good place for lots of projects to exist. Crowdfunding. There's different forms of crowdfunding existed for decades. This is just another form of crowdfunding. Or shares in something, it's just that, and I think it's a great thing to give people that chance. You guys are fantastic. I am just blown away by the community, and I know that it's a busy time of the year. I know that I look knackered, but it has been exhilarating so far. So much to come, so much exciting stuff to come, and other projects which I'm making notes about. I'm not working on, but I've got other ideas for new expansions. We're going to be working on the Rad Zone third expansion, as I said, and working towards maybe a Rad Zone RPG at some point in the future. Just put that in there for Scott. For Brian, I should say. And so it's good. Good. Okay, I think that feels like a natural point to finish up, and really good. Another lovely to be able to chat with everybody, and yes. So let's finish this properly, because we've got. It is, what day is it today? I can't even. It's Thursday. I always stream on Thursdays. So I'm going to finish off the single story layer tomorrow. That's going to go to testers. Hopefully then we can release it next week. But on Monday I'm going to put an update out, maybe with the table for the liberated prisoners. And then on Tuesday the campaign finishes. And what I will do, virtually 100%, is I will do a stream as it finishes. So it'd be like a congratulate kind of, because we passed the mark. It'll be a celebration stream, and I'll be thanking everybody for their support, answering questions. Just we'll have a bit of an overview about where we're at with the project and whether we're on schedule, and how that goes from there. So so it's going to end quickly now. We're kind of getting to that point. Happy New Year to you and all your lovely community. Exactly. Happy New Year, everybody. Nigel says, when I first saw your 2D6 dungeon, it reminded me of AD&D, the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide solo play. Exactly. Well, and Fighting Fantasy as well. Massive influence on what I do. So fantastic stuff. Are you going to do a live happy dance for the celebration? No. I don't know. I really don't know. We'll see. I'll come up with something. He should. Oh God. No, you don't want to see that. That's just that'll just dampen the celebrations. Get your tap shoes on. Well, we'll see. Maybe there'll be something special in the pipeline. I think I'd just be overwhelmed. It's just been a fantastic campaign. People have been so supportive. It just makes me push on to create the best product that I can, so that everybody can enjoy the game and get the most out of it. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Guys, you are awesome, and this wouldn't exist without you. I am completely humbled, and on a daily basis I will pinch myself just to think, you know, how lucky I am to be part of this and to create this stuff and let people enjoy it. So yeah, and that's completely honest. You know, I just really enjoying this ride. It's fantastic. So guys, that is the end of the stream. I will see you on Tuesday. If you get a chance to spread the word, do. And yeah, let's do this. Let's do it. Guys, take care. I'll catch up with you very soon.